Hi kids, welcome back and well done for surviving a first week back to school. We've been thinking about you and your teachers and praying for you lots this week as you get used to all the new routines. Now last week I told you that we've been planning a special series for you all about Beatitudes. What a strange word Beatitudes is. Our attitudes are a little bit like behaviours, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about that this week. Have you been on your best behaviour? And what people really mean is, have you been doing all the things you should be doing in kind and thoughtful ways? So we're going to learn the difference between be attitudes and me attitudes. Me attitudes are what you get when we make ourselves and what we want more important than Jesus and what he wants. Beatitudes is all about how to be the people we want to be and Jesus wants us to be. So concentrating on Beatitudes rather than me attitudes is what really makes us happy. Or another word, blessed. And blessed is something else that we're going to learn lots about in the next few weeks. So we've got lots and lots to do. Let's get started with the first one. This week we're going to see that what we depend on is what's really important. Have any of you played the game Jenga? You know, the one with the wooden blocks where you try and build a really big strong tower. Let's have a look at this supersized version that Phil's made. Now, do you think it's strong enough for him to sit on? Yes, it is. And do you think he can make another one that's taller than himself and it still stand up? Yes, it's all about what we depend on that's important. And Jo's going to help us to understand this a little bit more later. But before she does, let's watch a clip and listen to an introduction about all the Beatitudes that Jesus spoke about and we're going to look at in the coming weeks.
God's story, the Sermon on the Mount. So part of God's story is about a sermon Jesus gave on the side of a mountain and what he did afterwards. And it goes like this. One day, when Jesus saw crowds gathering to hear him teach or see him do miracles, he went to the side of a mountain. It was near the Sea of Galilee, across from a place called Capernaum. From there, he gave a message all about God's kingdom and his love. We call this message the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus started by explaining who would get blessings or favor from God. He said the most blessed people are those who are poor, sad, or humble. He said God shows favor to people who are just or treat others fairly, and people who are merciful or show love to those who don't deserve it. He said the people who are pure, who bring peace, or who get hurt for doing right will be rewarded for their actions in heaven. In other words, the people who love others, even when it makes them seem weak or unimportant on earth, are like heroes in God's kingdom. Anyway, Jesus went on to explain that when we believe in and follow him, it's our job to show everyone else who he is by loving them. That means going out of our way not only to comfort and help our friends, but also forgive people who hurt us, love our enemies, and give to people in need. The thing is, Jesus didn't just talk about love, he showed it all the time. In fact, right after giving this sermon, Jesus spent the rest of the day helping everyone he met.
Over the next few weeks, we're going to be thinking about those Beatitudes. What are they? How are they different from me attitudes? And what are the blessings they bring? So today we're going to be thinking about the first one. Sometimes in life we have to rely on ourselves or depend on others or things around us. But how important is it that we rely on God? Well, this Beatitude tells us it's really important because it says, blessed are those who rely on God's help. Heaven is theirs. But what does it mean? So this candle is a little bit like us when we rely just on ourselves. And when life is going well, then all is good. But what happens if life gets a little bit tougher or we have some problems? What happens then? Well, as you can see, when we just rely on ourselves, that's not really enough. We need something more. So what about if we rely on others or things around us? And it's good to have people around or things around that we can depend on. And what difference will that make? So once again, when life is good, here we are and all is good. But what difference will it make if we've got problems or life gets a little bit tougher? Let's see. Well, you can see it did make a difference, but it's obviously not the complete answer. So what about if we decided to rely and depend on God? What difference would that make? So here we are, relying on God when times are good. But what happens when we've got problems or things are a little bit harder? What difference will it make that we're depending on God? Well, as you can see, that made all the difference. And we can see that when we depend on God, we can still experience joy even when life gets tough. When we realise how much we need God and when we rely on His help, it makes all the difference. So the first beatitude, blessed are those who rely on God's help. Heaven is theirs. Whatever your week is like this week, in good times or in harder times, remember, you can rely on God always. We're going to go off to Phil now.
Hello kids! Over the next few weeks we are going to be making a mobile. Not that type, this type. As we are going to be looking at the bee attitudes over the next few weeks, we are going to be making a bee themed mobile, and here are two suggestions. One is a hive, which is made from a simple piece of cardboard, or you could use an old cereal packet with some holes punched in the bottom for the threads. The other one, a bit more adventurous, is a honeycomb. So I'll be showing you how to make a honeycomb, plus also one of the bees for this week, and then how to attach the card, which you will be given. I have chosen to use gold glitter card for my honeycomb pieces, but you could use plain gold card or yellow card, whichever you find. So a strip 1 centimetre wide and 14 centimetres long, divided into 7 lots of 2 centimetres, folded sharply on all the 6 lines there, and then stuck together like that to make one hexagon. And then, having another one ready, using tape or glue, you stick your 2 hexagons together and you keep adding more and more until you have enough for the whole of the mobile top. For this week's bee, it is very simply a matter of cutting out circles of yellow card, and I've done about 4 centimetres across. 2 of them, make sure it's yellow both sides. Then I've used a permanent marker to draw some black stripes along the bottom and again on both sides of both circles. And then you will need to cut a slit along the bottom of that one and then in the top end of that one. And then you push them together like that. And then if you want your eyes to be visible, whether it's sideways on or frontways on, then you can use googly eyes, or if you don't have googly eyes, you can use white circles of paper with black circles, dots drawn on them. So that is this week's bee all finished. So I have attached this week's finished bee to my mobile hanger, and underneath is this week's Beatitude card, which says, "Blessed are those who rely on God's help. Heaven is theirs." See you next week. Don't be late.